So we're definitely going to glue this on first to make sure we get a good bond and I don't have weight on it and anything like that. And then we can glue the wings on. So I got these little stubs that will come out here. There's plenty of room in here to junction. But yeah, I can have stubs coming out here, and I think we can tie, because we'll just have to tie the two blacks to the one black coming out, and then the blue to the blue come from the wing, and the red to the red come from the wing. So I just took off the shrink tube off the blue here, because at one point I was just going to have I wasn't sure if I was going to have the landing ramp lights come on fully all the time, or I just wasn't thinking that I needed to put another wire on here. But I think I can, then once I glue it on, can I set it like that? No. That main engine, the big one's taller than the rest. It would be nice if I can keep it like that, so that the sits and dries like that. I don't know how I'm going to keep it squished up and nice and tight. So, but what we can do is take a black, a blue, one red. You could almost twist them together too. Make a, wonder if that's what I do, so it makes like a little cable, kind of like that. And being that it's in a thing that twists, that way if they're together, they kind of move together. That's what I'm going to do. I think I still have to trim a little bit of this. There we go. Now it makes it like a cable. And we got to try to get it in the slot. Slide it through. There we go. Here. Let's do the same with the other. Because then we can attach the black to this black and the red to this red, and then we'll just connect them to that when we go to glue. And then the two blues will go right to that terminal. So we can do, let's start with the blacks. All right, let's tin them together. And I'm going to try. Here, those things that are done on both sides. I did a little detail on that. Twisting all the blacks together so they kind of stain a little. There we go. Since this isn't on, but doing those little details, I did it on the inside. And we'll twist them together so they're all kind of solid like that. And then here's the other side of that door. I did those little T's. And let's tin those reds together. Slide open and these open, which allows them to come down to the landing ramp. You get the underside here. And you see we have plenty of wire, and then like I said, I can shove even more up in there. Probably didn't even have to do these extensions. I might even remove the black and red extensions, because we got enough wire here. I think that's what we're going to do. Yeah, because that's more than enough. And why have a bunch of junctions that can have something go wrong? Because yeah, that I can attach right to that and glue it. Boom. So, yeah, we don't. Let's save those for something else. No reason to have all this wire in here. Hopefully, I can get this one off because it's more than just two wires. There we go. A straight solder like that would be wonderful. What we could do. I need something to kind of let that rest on. We're not pulling stress on the wire. Let's see if we can get this to solder up. Clean that tip up. I think if I fold it over, will the shrink tube still make it over? Because it started to shrink a little bit from the heat of the wires. Yeah, it's still making it over. Here we go. And heat shrink it. There we go. Negatives are bundled together. Red's going to be the easiest because it's just the bundle wire going to a single wire. Where the black has a lot. And the blue's got a lot too. This is what I like to do, is get them to twist, solder them, and then lay that twist down and slide the shrink tube over top of it. Instead of trying to do a solder like this where you just have the wires lay on top of each other. If you're getting into the thicker gauges, that kind of works. Because you have a surface, to make sure they're attached. But if you can twist them like this and then lay them, bend them over, I prefer that. And then the twist gives some strength to the joint. You rolled away again. Clean the tip up. We'll do the same thing. We'll bend that like that. And hopefully this one, yeah. That one slid over, no problem. And then we have a nice, good junction and cable through. And getting rid of those extensions, because to have a joint here and then another one where they attach here, that's just too much. Here we got one junction. And that's it. And then for the wings, we got this junction here. But that's not a big deal. Like I said, I think I can tuck extra in here because this is all going to be an open compartment because the wings slide over top. Because the wing pocket, it's like this, so it slides over top. And then there's the two holes. I don't know if you can see them. There's the two holes inside to go to each direction. One, I'm sure this one here towards the front probably comes to this, and then that one back there goes down to the landing ramp. I also decided to do a gun steel in here, which is a little bit of a darker metal than the galvanized tin, just to bring that kind of wrap around the inside there. I was going to go with the galvanized tin. I was like, what, it might look neater with it being a little darker. So, but it needs another coat. Okay, so let's keep going on. We just have the red, which is the easier one. We should do a test too. Always test, especially electronics. And make sure your solder joints aren't cold, or we got a lot of extra wire here we can get rid of. The same thing, we'll slide this one up and over, hopefully. There we go. Shrink this shrink tube. And getting those mostly twisted, I think we'll keep them all together. See, now when I do that, everybody's staying much more together. Yeah, and it goes there, and we got plenty of wire, especially on this side. Now here's the main thing. I gotta glue this without hitting this inner ring, and I want to make sure this is really glued really well. So we're definitely running an epoxy. Super glue would be too fragile. I think all that weight, and most of the time the wings want to do this. So it's going to put stress on this bottom, wanting to pull. All right. Well, this is fun. Of course, you're going to come off now. Definitely making sure I get all enough in on this, especially the bottom. Bottom's gonna. That's where it's gonna have the prying because of the top of the wing, the back of the wing, back top is gonna want to do this. So it's going to want to pull that. It's going to want to open that way. And then here it's going to be like a pivot. I think that's going to do it. That's about what we're going to get. Try to keep the wires out of it. If we do a twisty, turny, squishy thing, I hope we're oozing. That was the way to go. And then we can give a little tug on those. So we pull those wires forward. Keep them out of there. Does this want to turn? Yeah. That's good. So far, it hasn't cured yet either. So, but should have got some tape ready. Should know better by now. Can I get something here to? No, I'll never be there. It's cool. No, too tall. There we go. I'd rather make a big U. Where we go? Like, or do I tack it to the bottom first? Grab that, and then grab that, and then we can press and pull. We got that side good. All right, I'm gonna let that sit. We seem to be on there okay. Yeah, tight all the way around. I mean, like I said, it's not tight because it's pulling that ring, and that ring actually moves. Since it's the one that spins, it has a little play like this. But me pushing on the back of her cockpit, which is attached to all that solid, everything feels solid. Yeah. So let's just let well enough alone and let that cure. All right, you're probably wondering why the cockpit's off. Well, we had a little mishap. I went to try everything, and the cockpit lights weren't working. And I'm like, great, this thing's massively epoxied on there. So I went on just painting the wings, the other wing, getting the detail, all the detail going on the wing. Got this trench painted, got this back piece painted, and some details in here, the white there and all that. So that's what I've been doing. Got to do the door, but we got to make this line crisp, and I got a lot of cleanup to do on this underside, and then we still have that to do, and the nose to do, and then we're caught up. But I was doing that, just pondering what I could do. Because I'm always like, I could always 3D print this part. I don't want to, I mean, if I have to 3D print this whole cockpit, I would. Then that's a lot of hand painting for that interior, which I probably could pop all these out and just, this part wasn't hard. Um, so then I thought about it. I know heat, if you can get some heat, that will help loosen up epoxy, make it at least maybe a little softer. It actually kind of makes it a little brittle, because now I can pretty much just pop it right off. But then I'm like, okay, well, that's not a big deal, except for this is 3D printed and it's, thermoplastic. So am I going to be able to do that, or should I just snap and pry and try not to dent this part up? Because we don't want to redo that. And it's like starting over, because everything built off of that. So, so what I did is I tried my hair dryer. I could get this tool in, because this ring's kind of loose, gives you a little bit of a gap. I could get it in there and start to pry with the heat. And then I grab, but the only thing is we put a dent in this ring. So I'm thinking I can just reprint that ring. But how do I get this cockpit off? Because I know I really epoxied this cockpit on. I even came in here, if you guys remember from a previous video, and put more down in even the cracks and let it sit like this so it's soaked in. So it's way better epoxy than, this is way better epoxy to this than this whole thing was to that. So what we're going to do, like even the epoxy is cleaning up. So what I'm going to do is break, I think this is super glue, because I had to pop it once before. So I think I can go in there, even scar a little bit. Even if I break this ring here, that gives you the little clippy things that give you friction and also stop it. They're on both sides. I think if I either break this or try to get it off, I think I'll still reprint a new one. Just because I won't trust the fatigue it just went through. But I think I super glued this on. And if I did, that's a bonus, because then it makes it easy to snap off. I could try that. Oh, see it? It fell down in there. Every once in a while I can get this blade to cut down into it. There, it's going to be strong. I'm definitely going to reprint a new one, because we're going to put this through too much fatigue. Broke more of the blade. I knew it was going to happen sooner or later. So now that becomes an obstacle too. Like I said, I don't want to booger up a chair wall. We might have to. There it goes. Just got to get it to release a little bit over here. And I could have left it without it, but I kind of like those, everything's going so well, and I got plenty of time. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I came out of there pretty unscathed. Yeah, there was some glue down on that part. But as you can see, now I can remove that. And here's the inner cylinder, and we'll clean all this up. And there's that other clip. We just got to make sure we put all this back so it's like that. Now, can we? Oh no, we can't get to it. It's hollow. Unless I try to drill a hole and then push. but it's not much to just print a new one of these, and I think that's what I'm going to do. Print a new one of those. It's not going to be hard to paint. Just hit it with some primer quick. I'll tape up these ends again, hit it with some primer quick. Because I don't think we'll ever get this here right. I might be able to push that up, but I think I'm always going to have a weirdness there. So we'll do that. I already pulled up the files. So we need a new one of these and a new one of these. I figured I'd show you that. That sometimes things happen. The nice thing about the 3D printing is I can always print new parts. Now, what I'm doing is we got to make sure all this is cleaned up. This ring is going to be super glued on again. So we'll just take some Scotch-Brite. We'll just go through and I already took a file, but this will get rid of any burrs or anything loose. Just go through and Scotch-Brite it. I can even take this flat, wide blade and break off or cut off any loose super glue. And this is nice. You can lay it flat and just go in there and scrape off any of the loose epoxy and get it nice and level. Go back over it with Scotch-Brite because it'll grab any of the small stuff. And then we'll just go through and touch up just this outer edge. Leave this raw. Oh, I had a engine flap come off. I remember to be careful the way I press and push. But I did that color shifting. I think I used a Vallejo electric blue intense violet and did that a little bit on the ends of the engine bells, kind of give it that burnt metal look, and it came out good. I'm really happy with that. All right, I don't know if I showed the paintings, a little bit of painting I did in those. We'll paint that up because I got to paint these up anyway. These get regular Hall white because that's that one when it's closed, and that's that one. So I got them primered. But I have to paint. I want to paint this the Hull light color anyway. So then when we scratch through the red, you'll expose this. And then same thing with the closed covers. And then what I did here is I took a little bit of JB steel and dabbed a little bit on those little nubs to make them longer. So I would do this and then let it hang down, and it slowly forms a bubble. So it extended those little bumps out a little more. I'm hoping that holds up. I used the JB steel. I don't know how well that's going to hold up. I did it to both of them. This one, it worked really good. It gave 2 good nubs. On both ends. For this one, this one was always a little something up with it. It looks like this thing drooped or something. But it fits fine, but yeah. So we got to paint these. This can get painted along with that because this gets the red. But we'll paint all of them this Hull color first, seal it, then we'll hit them with the red. These can go away then, and we can finish that piece with the red. Let's start with a negative first. How big of a tail? More than big enough. So I'm going to strip a big piece off, make a big hook. I'm going to hook that sucker on there. If I can, take a toothpick and wrap that extra wire around. Yeah, now that's on there. Since the two leads coming off the LEDs are right next to each other, the negatives, I just bent them like that, soldered them where they cross, cut one of the wires off, and took the other part and bent it. So we still have this kind of X thing going on here, I guess you could say. This is gone, and that's like that. So I took the wire, hooked it, and just kept spinning it around this one lead. And then the other part that still had some extra wire, I then took and wrapped around this part that I have sitting like that. And then soldered it so it's got a solder point to around here and around this. So it's hooked on there good. With this, there was so plenty of wire. Try to somehow wrap this around that one. Sometimes you can get it to pin against the wall since there's a wall real close. Try to spin it around. And if I can get some solder there, it's pretty good. It's twisted around it. Everybody's soldered. I think I might have did it. Oh yeah, it's on there. Let's see if we get lights. We do. There we go. Make sure that's on the battery end and not on the wire end. So let's get a better grip here. We're pulsing in and out. I want to shake that to make sure it's not at the connections. But we have lights. And nothing's doing anything weird. All right, yay. So that was worth doing. We'll lose a couple hours. Not a big deal. And we have power. I got a light bulb going. Good. So there's power still going to that. Nothing got. There was nothing wrong with this solder joint with that wire. It was just, like I said, the negative popped off of this end. Okay, I'm back to semi-square one. I had another issue here. This actually bent up a little bit, but I got that back down. That wasn't too bad. Just heated it up and just took this in here and got it down. And then I got this flatter one down so I could get it in a flat plane again. And then touched up any little paint nicks it made. But that was a fairly easy fix. But yeah, this is all painted back up. Actually, this looks better than the old one. But there we are, wings straight, and then they turn like that. So that's nice. So we can do that. We got these on. We know the headlights are working. We're tugging real hard. So now we can actually glue this ring back on this side. There's a little burr right there. There we go. We should be able to glue this back on. And we don't need too much glue because now that I'm thinking about it, once it gets sandwiched in there, this bottoms out and all that's in there. So we'll just tack these corners here. You don't have to go crazy like I did last time because, I mean, it does hold that tight. And what we'll do is we'll get right there. And we can tack it. I might even done this last time. That's why we had like little tacky points. And I'd have to go back and look at the video. But like I said, this is not as crucial as I originally thought. But it does hold all this tight. Yeah, that's actually a tighter spin. That's pretty much hitting, so I'm going to leave it alone. Sometimes you mess around with things too much and you fuck them up. There we go. All right, so we'll let that sit. Okay, I'm going to have to snake these wires back through, hopefully. So I got a little magnet wire. Let's see if I can, this direction, I think like this. See if I can pull these wires around it. I don't think there's too much of a bend, so it should make it through. There we go. That gets those two, or that one. There we go. Red and black, red and black. All right, we got these back out. All right, let's see if we can get these two negatives together. At least we can solder this really well. Cut off the extra. Now flip it one way. So let's flip it that way because the shrink tube's coming from that direction. And there's that one. All right. Now, nothing's touching. And we got to check both circuits on this. Hey! And we have cockpit lights. I got power off the red. And we're getting it off the blue. We'll do the same here. Yes. And yes. All right. So we're good. Probably more than what I need, but all right, here we go. Deja vu. So as long as we stay out of that area there, I think we're good. That's where the spinning parts happen. I think if I take a little bit of what's left, hit it at the bottom here. Try not to get the wires. They might set up to each other. Get them in there. Red, you're being a pain. There we go. That works. Right now, we're just gonna light tension just to keep it from falling off till we get even pressure. All right, we can remove that. Get this out of the way before I get my hand in it. Flip this over. I'm going to set the bottom ones. We'll pull on the top ones. We're good. Set it. All right, let's let that set. Put you back on. Yeah, we're kind of reset back where we are. We got these painted. I just got to paint the undersides. So those are good. Like I said, it worked out that I already had things to paint. And I did these, I primered them, and then I did them in the hull color, and then I did the red. So when I scratch across them, you'll see the hull color. I did seal it with a clear as well. That way the red's the softer paint that'll come off. Kind of like, let's see if I can get it to work on this. This will be a good test. There we go. See how it'll scratch? We could even use sandpaper if this is not enough. It'll give us those worn edges. Yeah, I think that'll work. Especially on the edge, it really cleans up. And I'll give it, and then we'll clean it all up before we clear coat it. But I'll give it that worn look to it. Here's the test before we let that fully cure. Hey! Yeah, I'll just have to devise a little sponge. Even simple as just sticking a little sponge in there. I do have the landing ramp. This guy here is done. Although I did remember I have to do which I'll do here in a little bit. I have to do the door detail that I did on the other one. But other than that, it's ready, all cleaned up. It's all painted up as far as detail. Those panels are painted up. Everything's All those edges are cleaned up. It was on the bottom. I think I had to do it too. Yeah. So we're going to leave all this running. But I'm glad I have my cockpit lights back. Well, all right, we're back to square one. This is all back on. Here's the old dented one. Maybe we'll, like I said, maybe we'll keep it and I'll make like a different T-6 shuttle. Make this one have dents, and now that I know that a hairdryer, I can make perfect little dents and stuff. Yeah, so it's on there. Everything is working. So I'm much happier now. It's bright on the camera, but I did hit those bulbs with a little bit of white to help diffuse it. I might do a second coat just to diffuse them a little more. It definitely helped. And it makes it look more like a light fixture. So, and everything's spinning. And I did test these ends for power. And both circuits have power. So we are good. Wiring is good. Now we just got one more task, and that's attaching splicing the wing wires to these. All right, time to put some lights in these wings. I did the other wing and filmed it and had some issues. Well, one big issue, and it'll lead to what issues I'm having auto with. The other night I was working on some stuff, and I was printing some clear parts in my Saturn II, and I went to check on it when it got to about like 39% or something like that. And here I saw the whole left side of the build plate was like nothing was there. And of course I saw some parts floating, and then some of the parts on the other side were malfunctioned. So I was like, oh, well, this is a complete failed print. But it got worse than that. I guess my PFA filament on the bottom of the vat, that clear film that holds the resin, so and then allows the light to come through, must have got a tiny hole in it. So, and it was probably doing this even before that print, and was slowly leaking out on top of the LCD screen. So, long story short, the LCD is shot. It didn't leak enough. I could even lift the vat up, and it wasn't even dripping. But it was leaking enough, and I think it was leaking even prior to that, and then you got pressure going. Probably helped it more. So at least, like when I lift the vat out, it wasn't pouring out. I thought maybe it came out the seams, but somewhere there must be a hole in the actual in the PFA. So I had to take it all apart to make sure. And this was late at night too. I had to take it all apart to make sure none of it leaked down inside, and it didn't. The tape that seals the LCD screen was lifting in the left front and the left rear, but when everything was put together, it was down tight enough that it sealed it from getting down and leaking around it. So everything inside, from what I saw from a quick opening, it looks like we're good. It didn't leave a big pile on top. It was more of a thin, like it was leaking between the PFA and the LCD. It was just sitting there sandwiched between it. So that was fun. So I had to pour out that clear and clean all that up. I ordered a new screen, but then I saw that they have a Saturn IV for $270. So I went and got that. I said, you know what? That would be great. And what sold me on it, it has auto bed leveling. And it's a 12K. And instead of having to lift the whole lid off, you got an actual hinged lid, which is great. What else? You can get a heater for it if it needs. That plugs in via USB, kind of like the little air purifiers they have. What else? It's got a way nicer feature for the build plate. It's got a nicer build plate. It's a laser cut instead of a sandblasted one. So things will come off. But instead of the screw knob, take the build plate off, it's got the nice latch system, which is great. But that was too good a deal. And the other nice thing is they both take, I had to get, of course, a new screen, and of course I had to get some more PFA film for the VAT. The great thing is they both take the same PFA paper, so I can get like a 5-pack, and that'll take care of both of the Saturns, so that's neat too. Let's get these in. But like I said, I already did it to this other wing, and then, well, with everything going on, my camera fell, which then bent my Bluetooth thing for my Bluetooth microphone. So yeah, I think that has a lot to do with why I lost like audio in the middle of the video. But we have another wing, so we'll just start from scratch instead of me trying to piece that together. But there she is. But we'll show you how I did it. What I did for here, and I'm not seeing it, so I hope I didn't lose it. There it is a 5mm bulb won't fit in there quite right because that's a 5mm hole. And then of course, you know, LED bulbs, they have that little rim at the bottom where these are. You got that little skirt, and they kind of get a little wider anyway. I don't know if these are dipped, how they get all that on there. But yeah, you have that little rim, so I can kind of get it in the hole, but yeah, I can't get it past that, and then it really needs to go this way. So what I did is I was like, I could get a 3mm bulb in there. So if I get a 3mm, it'll sit in there and float. It won't. It's too small for the hole. So I'll make a 5mm little cylinder plug, and then drill, and then also make it so that it'll fit. It has a hole in here, but it doesn't go all the way through. So it'll be like a light lens. Basically, this will fit right on top of the 3mm bulb and work like a diffusing light lens. As you can see, I made a little hole for that to pop right over on top. And then this will be the part, once we pull that brim off, that'll be the part that'll stick out. And we'll have it stick out just a little bit so it looks like a, you know, a round light fixture there. Now, this one in the front, I will actually ground that skirt because I want this to be a bright bulb that shines light really far. So we'll just go and, I guess we'll just go and ground that skirt. That's what I did, and just try to keep it clean up on the tip area, so that part that's showing is still nice and shiny and everything else, and then it fits right in there. The other thing I had fun with the other one is the one trench for this. I get right about here, and it was being a pain. So let's see if this one's going to give us the same problem. Usually the best thing I do is I'm using magnet wire. Probably better if you have a slightly heavier gauge thing, in case there is some. So I make a little loop here, circle it around and twist it, just to give you a round end instead of you trying to shove this sharp edge that's going to catch everything, even if it's just a flat plastic wall. I might have made that end a little too big because it runs into obstacles in here, like it is. Hey, it came through. See how it just allows it to make the bends. Let's first mark our positive, which I just take a little fine point Sharpie, and the longest one, you know, is the positive. Just hit it with a little red Sharpie right up against the diode. All right. Gun heating up early enough. And so this will be blue wire. So you're going to go from here to about there. That's as far as we need you. A little extra because then I don't have to worry about it going in. wire's not that expensive. I gotta make a 3-reel one of these. This I made. I just designed and made quick to hold these, and I mainly use 2. But what I could do is print another one of these and put the yellow and the blue. That's what I'll probably end up doing on that one. But it was a neat little thing to make up. Instead of having this all the time, I can just pull. And then I made this little thing here where I can pull it through. And that way they're always here, and then when you're done, you just wrap around like that. And it'll keep you from losing wire. But we need the negative right now, so we'll use this as a gauge length. You can just do that really quick. That keeps it all together. All right, so that's prepped. Now, wise man always said, test. And we got a light. Okay, so start braiding. Oh, and we actually got it cut pretty close to the same length. This is where we got to have it nice and tightly wrapped, because this is going to be where it wants to snag. Sometimes I have to actually wrap a piece of tape around it. An okay grab. I don't know if it's going to make it through. The biggest is that there. Believe it or not, a lot of times this tunnel's not the one that gives me the most trouble. Although now that I say that, there's the. Oh, come on. Ah, no, I lost it. I lost it. Got to see it started bundling up. I like to push on this end at the same time. There's something right there. Yeah, I'm gonna lose it again. Yeah, there's something I can see. Right here. It might be. It built supports in here, and I don't know why I didn't check for support blockers for that. Yeah, it's coming out. I don't know if that's the culprit. Yeah, see, there's. See if that was the culprit. Yeah, see, this is the fun part. There we go. There's the other piece of plastic that was in the way. All right. Now, hopefully, we got rid of that out of the way that I can get this through, but I'm not writing home about that. It's just right when it gets to that spot. I might have to try a piece of tape. There it's hitting me. I can tell when I hear that scratch. That's where it's hitting the wall of the bend. I might have to try a piece of tape. Alright. It worked the last time, so you only need just enough to keep it from grabbing the ends of the wire. That's the most important part right there, is getting that nice and tight. Otherwise, you just add more bulk for it to catch onto. And we'll cut this excess off instead of keep wrapping it. And we're not using the tape to hold it, we're just using it to hold that. So you want this as low profile as possible. Let's see if that's enough to get it to sneak by whatever is in here. That was it. We should be able to put this cap on, get rid of this brim. See, that makes a nice little snap you on. And decide how deep I want you. You're fitting nicer than the other one. There you go, it works. In a little more. Don't want to push too far in because then I don't know if I'll be able to get it to pop out unless I can grab it. But I think that gives us enough like that. All right, so now we need red. And it's not a lot because it's just that little. Come out. There. There. Plenty. Black. All right, so now the easiest thing was me just taking a file. And you stay away from the tip because I want that to stay clean. I just did that, and it's cleans up fairly quickly. Yeah, that's pretty good. And then I'll just stick it in here, and then if it goes all the way in, yep, beautiful. It really didn't take much. I was using my sander, and it wanted to grab it. All right, mark our plus. And just the same thing, but with black and red wires. We have that one. Oh, can you be more cooperative? But like I said, I think this is the one that gave us the most problem because it's such a rip. Probably the tunnel's probably mostly bend. clear that way. A bunch of stringy stuff. Like that. That can be enough to raise havoc with stuff. I'm not even getting anywhere with it. That's always a problem. You sometimes make more of a jam. Hey, it came through. Not the direction I wanted to go, though. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it to pull through with the wire. That's my thing. Is it going to make it through with the wire? All right. If I can just cut this loop off, we can still pull it through the way I want to pull it through. Probably should do the tape thing right away because I have a feeling we're going to need that right away. If I dare try, I know it ain't going to do it. It's got a quick turn it's got to make. Right there, it's already starting to catch. All that tape's got to do is just get it started to go through past that debris field. I think it did. Yes, it did. Yay! All right. Are you gonna fit? Yes, you are. Where's those tweezers? Here we go. Gotta hit a little super glue. Just put a dot on one side and a dot on another. Pull so tight it should squish and move around. Right down. Try to match the other one. I don't remember how. Where is it? Where's the other wing? Here it is. A little further than that. That looks good to me. Sweet. Our lighting is in. Now, as far as this, here's its landing ramp. I just got to paint up these little hydraulics, and that's it. That's done. And we can get these wings on. Okay. Just been doing some scratching with Scotch-Brite. Here's the bottom. There's the top. Definitely wanted to get in here before I attached it because it would have been hard to get in that area. So kind of what I almost forgot about here. A little too clean in there. Don't need a lot of nicks because it's not an area that gets hit as much, but don't want it too clean as well. I have some wear and tear. All right, but here's the contrast between the two. Makes a big difference. So we're going to continue, and all I'm really doing is going in and doing that. And that's why I didn't seal the red, because then it comes right off right away. Now this bottom here is really coming off a little easier. I gotta be careful. I'm noticing it's cleaning off a lot easier than the top, which probably because it cured a lot longer. The bottoms I'm gonna go a little heavier because I'm doing a story of, it probably gets scraped a little more when it's in atmosphere areas. And we're gonna have to go and clean up any of the dust and red dust that came off from scratching. So the tops I'm gonna go a little lighter, and same thing with the hull. The lot of the hull will be kind of hidden anyway. Like the cockpit area is not gonna get hit too much because it's all kind of wrapped in here. That looks good. That was quick on that one. I think that's enough. Like I said, it seems to, where I freshly painted it, takes a little more to, you can just come in here and hit little areas that you want. Up here it really likes to go away. Just touch it. See a little more chip in there. And you can go in extra easy, but I gotta watch it. I get too many of those. I mean, it looks good. And this is the bottom, so like I said, the bottom I don't mind if it's a little more. So what I've been kind of doing is doing an overall. Now here, yeah, here's the top. It's a little tougher in some areas. And I just noticed there it cleaned up really, really good. That's my phone telling me weather stuff. And I try to pull in a little chipping where the two colors meet. A little couple chips that way. Those I do have to kind of get a good rub in there, and unless there's like a seam, a raised part from a detail, it kind of chips out pretty easy. And I've been making sure to get kind of on these insides, so they would get all knocked up. And that's part of the reason why I didn't even really seal it, because even just me handling it put chips and wore it out. Yeah, I don't know if I did back here really good on these edges. Here. And I'm kind of going and pushing my fingernail on some of these grooves so it hits these edges. Trying not to overly scratch up the silver that we did detail there. I mean, I can go and touch that up too, so that's not a big deal. A little more something down in there. And then what I'm doing is then kind of just doing a overall. I'll have to go and clean them up. Some of the red haze is getting everywhere, but dust. So we'll wipe it down. But yeah, what a difference. Oh, yeah. And I'm pretty happy with that. We're in yeah, same zone. I think that's enough. I don't want to go too crazy. And like I said, a little bit more on the bottom. It's okay. Check the backs. Here. I'm happy with that part, but I'm going to continue. I just got the hull to do, and then we'll get these guys put on. But the hull is going to be the same thing. We'll even start with this piece. And you can always add more, as long as I look at it for a while before I seal it. A little more in that detail there. There we go. Yeah, that's enough, especially when you have those. Yeah, I don't want to go ridiculous on that. Same thing with the whole hull. But I'm going to continue. It's just scratching. I'm going to go light around this area. Maybe a little more on the top, because some of these are always kind of hidden like that. And then when it's up like that, we'll be back, and then we'll get these. We'll have to solder the wires on and try to glue those off. I think I have to sand a little bit of this too. Just the thickness of the paint. And I can go real close and get rid of that paint. These suck in quite deep. Okay, I got this wing soldered and on. I'm gonna wait to glue them maybe tomorrow. I'll do a light test, and I have to touch up some of that silver there. Yeah, so we'll do the other side. So here, what I did for length is kind of looped it back, the wire, so I know it will fit in here, and I can kind of push a little bit of wire back in, so I did push a little in just to have some extra. But if I'm looping it back to here, that gives me a good idea of length. And then what I'm doing with these is kind of doing the same as bringing them like right up like that, and kind of thinking, all right, the length of this, that way I know they'll just tuck in there. Probably should do both relatively close to the same size. Or same length, I should say. So what I was doing is doing the negatives first, and then I can test. Actually, I should probably test this side. I test with a battery the first connection, and I connected the negative, and then I touched the blue and the red to the positive of the battery just to make sure that the negatives are still working. But let's do a big test here. Hey, I see that light, and hopefully I'll see a little light gapping. This is where it gets hard. Seeing if I have a little bit of light gap. Yes, I do. And the sconce is working on the other side. I think we were for that. Somewhere like that. And then the weight of this wing is try to get it on a little more. Because I might have to file. I did file a little bit of this paint. I have a feeling we'll have to do more. And I just rather run it for a night before I permanently glue on there, so that way if I have to get to these connections, I can. But then what I'm doing here is I'll get on here and separate this negative. And that will help solidify this ring a little bit better. And this negative, and then I'll tie these two negatives from the wing together and then tie it to that single one coming from the ship. This is where tweezers come in hand. Your fingers are, the wire's so short, your fingers are so close together. Not necessarily hard, but something that you have to work very methodically, and it's all the things that I am not good at. Well, we lost some audio when I went to move it to camera. Like I said, I need to get a new USB, Bluetooth wireless thing that plugs into the phone because it got bent. And it must have, when I moved the phone and moved the wire, because I run just a USB directly and not just keep power to the phone all the time. And yeah, so the audio went out. The video was running fine, but the audio went out. But basically, what it was just, simple. I tied the two blacks from the LEDs together and then tied it to the black that was coming out of the nub here, or little stub of wire coming out each end of those things. And then the red went to the red and the blue went to the blue. So it was simple like that. And then just push the wire, the wings on, because I still haven't glued them yet. I want to continually do some light tests first. And the hull's all nice and scratched up as well. But I was just twinkling around with doing these cannons. So I figured, well, I was going to just do a quick video on what happened and then just show you the ship and with it all running. At first, I figured I might as well get these cannons going. Now, some of these ends are quite boogered up, so I was just filing them. This one's really nice. Yeah, that one's really nice. This one's a bad one, and this one's not so bad. These other ones that got really gooned, this bigger, it looks like there's a little thicker peg there. On the one that printed okay. But the ones that didn't, it kind of files away, so I might have to file that away on this one. That way they all push in the same. So that's what we'll do. But what should we do with these? Super glue them? I think that's easiest. But we gotta hit them with some white paint. Or the whole color paint, at least. So we're not gonna be able to get on the underside of it once it gets in there. It lays almost right on top of it. And of course, it's gonna want to take a million coats. It might not be too bad. I'll unset for a sec. So I'm going to have to file off that extra bump. A little more. That works. Go, let that one dry for a minute. How's this one looking? Since it cured a little bit, we could probably get another. Be drying pretty fast. Air must be really dry. Oh, the heat's been running a lot today. So, well, there's two of them. Okay, these last two are dry. Hopefully that one holds together. Let's see which one. It's hard to do things upside down. So that one, yeah, that one seems like that one better. There we go. I got cannons. Now I might have to take some little hair dryer action and try to make all the tips look right. You can just do that one was bending up a little too much. I think we can bring it down a hair more, but all right. Well, I'm sorry about losing the audio on that. Like I said, I got to be careful until I get a new jack. So now we have those on. The last guns that we're going to do is those. Those guns will be gunmetal, but like I said, I'm going to wait. I'm going to pull this out, hit it with a satin, do the wash, and then hit it with a satin, and then hit the whole entire ship with a satin, and then put the glass on the top and the bottom here, and then put it in there, and then put this last glass piece on. I want a little bit of flex, so I don't want to put all of them on. And then we'll get these guys, like I said, on after we do the satin overall. But we got to do like a gloss coat or semi-gloss and do a wash on this yet. And then we'll do the satin, and then we'll put the glass in on these. And up here too. Like I said, I still don't think I'm going to put them in the canopy part. And my screen came in, so I can actually probably quickly put that in and print a Hey You, but I'm or Huyang and Ahsoka and the figures. But I might wait for my 4K or the 12K. Duh. I might wait for that because it would give me a better resolution. on those such small scale figures. But there she is, all scratched up. We got cannons on. The wings are just temporarily on. I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna run a light test. We'll actually turn the lights on now. And that's looking good. But once I like to have a good light test, then we'll, I think I gotta file a little more on this side, and then we'll, do a permanent glue. But yeah, there's that part. Our engines are, everything on the inside still working. Our engines are working. It looks nice now with the cannons in the back. There she is. The scratching up looks really good. Really ties it in. It helps you see a lot more detail. And the next video, we'll finish this up and do a final review.